Welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to have you with us as we focus on leadership and development in Africa. This week, we talk about food and nutrition and the importance of investing in early years. We keep that conversation going. We get your views on the issues. And as always, we have Africa's top 10. You're watching the Africa Leadership Dialogues. I'm Julie Gishuru. On the show this week, we delve into matters of nutrition. The facts are stark. Right here in Kenya, we face a significant challenge of malnutrition, and every year, nearly 100,000 children die before their 5th birthday, and 50% of these deaths are linked to malnutrition. 7Cs wants to raise awareness about the importance of nutrition and supplements in a campaign called Together for a Stronger Generation. We have a panel discussion that comes from the launch of this campaign right here in Nairobi. Let's take a look at the panelists. On our panel this week, Gladys Mugambi, Head of Nutrition, Ministry of Health. Dr. Thomas Ngwiri, Head of Clinical Services, Gertrudes Hospital, and Chair of the Kenya Paediatric Association. Dr. Alex Awiti, Educationist. Dr. Christopher Wairegi, Medical Manager, Merck Central Africa. Paul Murunga, Kenya Rugby Sevens Team Nutritionist. Let's get straight to their views on nutrition.
Let me come to you now. On an issue like this, we say there may be a cost associated with teaching, education, the partnerships we need to establish, getting the message across, but we perhaps can't afford not to do it. That's where the real cost would be, the risk of not achieving what we need to achieve in terms of nutrition. I want you to give us the overall picture. Why is this so important?
Thanks, Julie, and thanks for the organizers for this important meeting. I think the link between nutrition and education lies in the long-term consequences of malnutrition on what we consider the structural and functional pathological impacts on the brain. I think this is hugely recognized as cognitive impairment. I think Save the Children has done some amazing work in Uganda, which shows that malnourished kids or stunted kids score 7% less in math, and they're 19% less likely to read a simple sentence at age 8. And one of the things we might say is then, if the numbers of malnutrition are what they are, stunting, etc., it could be, Gladys, that those 26% of the kids who are stunted are actually already preordained to fail in the school system. So we might tell Mr. Kenyatta to cut the budget in education by 26%, because it doesn't matter what's going to happen. This gets.
Literally, we're saying it's almost a hopeless situation.
Absolutely. So I think what we need to do is to scare everybody to death to begin to make the investments that we have to make in the future. You only have the first 1,000 days. That is from pregnancy to 2 years. We have to invest in pregnant mothers and mothers during pregnancy, because then that's the only window that you have. Everything else that you do with school feeding programs is to augment the investments that you made. If you didn't make them, it's too late. So I think our future really depends on a knowledge-based economy. That knowledge-based economy means that we must have citizens who can read, write, and run a sophisticated economy. And that is predicated on how educated they are. So education then is foundational and is then linked to nutrition, which is then linked to overall economic development and human well-being. So that, to me, is a fundamental link.
Let's come to now nutrition itself.
Yeah.
And you've got an incredible group of people that you work with. They excel globally, and we are so, so proud of them. But what do you do in terms of managing their nutrition? What should they focus on, and what lessons can we, as parents, as educational institutions, as restaurants and hotels, learn from the way you instruct your team members to feed?
Okay, Thank you, Julie. To me, being the assistant coach of Kenya Sevens for the last season, and of course, we were playing big part in terms of what the boys are supposed to eat and what the boys are supposed to not to eat. And considering that most of the guys in the Sevens squad were basically young guys that came through high school level and being the national team for the first season, last season, I think it was a big challenge to strike between the guys that what they eat at home, the natural food they take at home, and having traveled for 15 days a month, getting more processed food abroad, and maybe coming back again for another 15 to 16 days, then you travel again. So you really need to monitor what they're eating when they're abroad and what they're eating when they're back at home. It's a big challenge where we get that most of the guys, maybe they are college guys, and most of the guys maybe are bachelors, and at some point from hard training session, you get them back at home, and they'll basically eat anything they get and maybe go for fast food just to make sure that they spend more time in terms of nutrition and get more rest for the following day. So I think nutrition strikes 50% of performance in terms of what they're eating.
50%?
Yeah, 50%. So that 50% is basically what you are eating and what you are drinking. So if you decide to drink water or you decide to drink beer instead of drinking water, then it's a direct impact to performance. Yeah, so for a given reason, you'll give them timetable and the menu, what they're supposed to eat and what they're not supposed to eat. Nutrition goes with the rest. Then, of course, after a good nutrition and good rest, then definitely you go back into hard work where guys are supposed to hit the gym and train on the field. So it's half-half. What we usually encourage is first they have to take enough carbo. Because of the high energy, but then the entire nutrition it's broken down into small portions. Yeah, so they're supposed to take like 3 to 8 meals, at least 3 to 8 meals a day. If you're able to strike a balance by taking like 6 meals a day, then it's good for them, because most of the time they're up and down, and after training, when they are burnout after training, you must make sure that they have something to bite, and before training they must get something to bite. And again, most of them will go for supplements, of which at some point the last season we didn't use any supplements because basically the food that we had were much enough for them for their intake, provided you take them into small portions.
One thing I'd like to reiterate from my colleagues and from Dr. Githanga's presentation and Gladys is the fact that we have to have proper nutrition. So you're looking at a proper balanced diet that is nutrition. Actually, just stick to the basics, okay? So we have the proteins, we have the starches, which are the energy producing foods, and then we have the vitamins and the minerals. So these kids who are having enough to eat and still are getting micronutrient deficiencies, what do we do for them? So of course there will be options of supplementation, and you've talked about the cod liver oil 7Cs. It does contain omega-3, vitamin A, D, and E. Now, when you look at omega-3, and was alluded to earlier in the presentation, omega-3 is an essential fatty acid, meaning it's part of the fats that I have not actually mentioned as part of the nutritious diet. Fats, you can get, a storage of energy, okay? So our body stores energy in form of fat that it uses in a later date when you don't have access to the food.
Stay with the Africa Leadership Dialogues.
In third world countries, basically we are faced always by a double-edged sword. So when we talk about malnutrition, we have undernutrition and we have overnutrition, okay? Of course, the micronutrient deficiencies and hidden hunger. We're looking about disease, there's communicable disease and non-communicable disease. So one thing we need not to forget is drop the ball while handling one and forget to handle the other. We just need to go back to the basics. go back to the basic. What is the basic? We look at nutrition. In nutrition, we are going to handle the disease, both communicable and non-communicable. You saw the chart that Dr. Githanga had shown with a lot of the communicable disease that kills our children before they under the age of 5. 50% mortality, 50% of the deaths under the age of 5 are due to malnutrition. So this is actually a low-hanging fruit that we should take charge of and work towards eradicating, both with private sector and the government. The other thing I wanted to add is the fact that when you're looking at the lifestyle that we have and how we are living nowadays as compared to probably 50, 20, 30 years ago, we can see that there's a need to supplement our diets. An example is vitamin D. People are living in 5-story buildings with a lot of mold in them, no sunlight. Our kids, 5-minute tea break or break time, they don't even play out in the field anymore. Everyone has grabbed all the land, so they're just playing in the park.
Thank you very much, Julie. My name is Dr. Sami Mahugu. I'm the head of the Health Promotion Unit at the Ministry of Health. First of all, it's also to thank Services and Mark for bringing together this forum. It is very educative, especially to the ordinary Mwananchi who we target. At the Health Promotion Unit, we basically are the bridge between the technocrats, the doctors, and the Mwananchi. So anything a doctor tells you that doesn't make sense because it's too technical, we are the ones now who break it down to make sure that it's actually effectively communicated to the Mwananchi. And on matters communication, one thing really I'd like to emphasize here, what I'd really like to put across is a rallying call to the private sector. We would like to engage with the private sector to ensure that we get our messages to the Mwananchi in Tana River, Turkana, West Pokot, even in the slums, the urban areas. We've heard about the people who are living on 6-story buildings. Yeah, not many of us know that we're actually exposing these children to risks of pneumonia by not really getting them outside of the houses and getting exposure to sunlight. Yeah,
thank you so much. If you could pass the mic to Johan for a minute, I think he wants, as private sector and as Merck, to respond to that.
A lot of the discussions that was had was about fundamental and strategic issues that we need to fix. But being a business guy, and also I spoke about thinking in generations, but we're also very tactical and we do things now and we always look at where the low-hanging fruit is. My point was, what do we do now? What do we do in the next month to help one child? Or what do we do over the next 6 months in order to get that done? And I think that's exactly it, is where we as private sector can help to educate on malnutrition. It's to your point around the athletes. They have to make good choices themselves because there's times when you're not going to be there to tell them what do they need to eat. And I think that's the really important thing where we need to partner and we need to educate and make sure that we have low-hanging fruits, things we can do now, not wait for Millennium Development Goals or Sustainable Development Goals by in 5 to 10 years they might be changed. We need to do things now, and that is where we come in. That is where we can partner and make sure that we get these things done.
Thank you. My name is Jerry James, and I have a question to the panel. How can our generation contribute to good nutrition and for a stronger generation?
The young generation, of course, depends on the parents and the guardians. So if you are responsible of you are in charge of your kid, or you are a parent, or you are a guardian, then how you train your child what to eat is the same thing that he will grow up knowing that this is right and this is wrong.
Thank you.
Your generation, 35, Kenyans aged below 35 constitute 80% of the current population. But they are 100% of the future. That's the difference. So that means that what you guys learn today, the habits that you develop, how seriously you take dietary and nutritional guidelines, exercise, and all of these things is going to be critical to how you raise the next generation. Because we are told that the median age right now is 19, which is even younger than your age, which is older than your age. So you guys are even below the median age. But the median age will still be just 25 in 2050. So that means that for a very, very, very long time, this country will look not like me. It will look like people like you. So how we take this campaign forward, I think what the young man is suggesting is that we shouldn't be having this conversation here. We should be somewhere in the schools, in the kindergartens and in the high schools and in the universities, talking to the people who hold that long future.
Thank you. And to the young man for that wonderful question. We were told 43% of Kenyans are under 15 years. So without you, there is no campaign because you represent half of Kenyans. How can you get involved? How can you participate? Is to get involved. But what you learn, do not keep to yourself. Be your brother's keeper. What you learn, share. When we tell people about nutrition, about good nutrition practice, they might think we are old-fashioned, but they will listen to you if you are their age mate and you're actually convinced about the value of good nutrition to good health, they will listen to you. So don't tire from sharing with those who did not have the opportunity like you to be in a forum like this, and you'll be making one big difference for the country.
One thing you can do is sing about good nutrition. You remember a song? Wakulima ongezeni kilimo. That was not your generation, that was mine. So those who are in that generation remember how powerful that was. There was another one which used to say, you wake up early, go to the farm and dig. Music is powerful. So you have something to run with about nutrition, and what you sing, others will learn from you. The other thing is, young people, learn to cook. Don't depend on the ready food, because there's a practice that we are seeing, we are changing. So when you go home, even if you're, both girls and boys, or men and women, let us all learn to cook. He has talked about those who are single, having challenges to prepare a nice meal. So if, as young people, you can start learning how to cook and cook the right food and know how to serve it, then that is good nutrition.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I mean, it shows that this young man has taken some omega-3. It's a beautiful question. But one thing I want to say that maybe the rest of the panelists haven't mentioned is the fact that the young generation now is quite empowered in terms of information. So you have access to the information, and we have all said that you need to share this information. But my advice to you would be, leave this information, okay? So as a young man, maybe at around your age, 14, 15 years old, I did not think I'll get a pot belly, yeah? I was very active, and and this is what you need to do. I mean, you have been told to be active, you have been told to have the right nutrition and all this. You live it, never stop being active. There are a lot of role models we have. Ensure you're always active and ensure you always have the right nutrition. And in that way, you're going to be able to transfer this to the next generation that comes after you.
Stay with the Africa Leadership Dialogues.
What an enriching discussion. We need to be careful about what we put in. It is absolutely critical. Let's get straight to your views now.
This week we asked you, how can we promote healthy lifestyle and nutrition habits and ultimately help reduce the malnutrition among the population? Jason Muriuki says, the government can and should play an active role in promoting healthy habits that can slow and then reverse our epidemic of obesity.
Hello, I'm Josephine Raya. I'm watching African Leadership Dialogue at Nairobi. Encourage exercise because it can help improve a person's appetite and it keeps his or her bones and muscles strong.
To join our conversation, go to our G+ page, Africa Leadership Dialogues, on Facebook, Africa Leadership Dialogues, on Twitter, @AfricaLD, and on WhatsApp, send your video comments to +254 715 816 033.
And it's time now for Africa's Top 10.
On Africa's Top 10 this week, we feature countries with the best infant mortality rate. The aim of the research was to determine the countries that have managed to reduce the number of infant mortality rate. Infant mortality rate is the number of infants dying before reaching 1 year of age per 1,000 live births in a given year. This is according to the World Economic Forum. Starting us off in number 10 is South Africa with an infant mortality rate of 33.3 and is ranked 105 globally. Coming in at number 9 is Namibia. The Southern African country is listed as number 100 globally with an infant mortality rate of 28.3. Positioned at number 8 is Morocco. The country located in the Maghreb region of North Africa registered an infant mortality rate of 26.3 and is number 99 in the global listing. Taking the number 7 spot is Cape Verde. The island country off the coast of West Africa comes in at number 90 in the global ranking with an infant mortality rate of 18.9. Slotted in at number 6 is Egypt. Considered the cradle of civilization, Egypt attained an infant mortality rate of 17.9 and is ranked 85. At number 5 is Algeria. The northern African state on the Mediterranean coast registered an infant mortality of 17.2 and is number 83 in global listings. Tunisia takes the number 4 spot with an infant mortality rate of 13.8 and is ranked 70 globally. Anchored in at number 3 is Libya. Even with the effects of the Libyan revolution of 2011 still being felt, Libya remains steadfast in its fight against infant mortality, coming in at number 68 globally with an infant mortality rate of 13.2. Coming in at number 2 is Mauritius. The island nation attained an infant mortality rate of 13 and is ranked 66 globally. At number 1 this week is Seychelles. With the smallest population of any independent African state, Seychelles registered an infant mortality rate of 11.2 and is number 60 in the global listings. And that's Africa's Top 10 this week.
As always, we end with words of wisdom. Our African proverb this week goes, "As porridge benefits those who heat and eat it, so does a child benefit those that rear it." Let's bring up a capable, committed, responsible generation for ourselves, for our communities, and for the continent. Blessings to you and blessings to Africa.